When my sister Emily died 2 years ago, something in our family broke permanently. We weren't perfect before no family is, but her death cracked us open in a way that never healed. My dad hardly speaks anymore. My mom throws herself into charity events like it's her full-time job. And me, I'm stuck, angry, looking for someone to blame. Emily was the glue. Warm, magnetic, always laughing. The kind of person who made you feel better just by being around. She loved hiking, photography, and getting lost in nature. Her death, officially an accident, felt almost poetic. She slipped while hiking and fell into a ravine. At least that's what the police report said. But if that's true, why does it feel like her ghost never left? Her ex-boyfriend Nathan was never really one of us. They dated for about a year. Then she broke up with him. She said he was possessive, obsessive, texting constantly, showing up at her place without warning, making weird comments when she spent time with friends. I remember her laughing it off once, calling him her stage 5 clinger. It wasn't funny. Not really. After the breakup, Nathan didn't take it well. He kept texting, calling, leaving voicemails. He even sent her flowers at work. Emily said he'd get bored eventually. I believed her. Until the funeral. Nathan didn't show up to the service, thank God. But a week later, he was standing on our front porch. It was raining. My mom opened the door and found him there, holding a bouquet of Lily, Emily's favorite. "I just wanted to pay my respects," he said softly, tilting his head like he was trying to look wounded. My mom, never great at saying no, let him in. Nathan sat on our couch and talked about Emily like he knew her better than we did. He described her laugh, her favorite diner order, her habit of humming while brushing her teeth. My dad sat there, stone-faced. When Nathan left, I asked my mom why she let him in. "He's grieving too," she said, but I didn't buy it. Nathan didn't seem like someone in mourning. He felt like someone circling, and then he kept coming back. He showed up at family barbecues, Thanksgiving, even my dad's birthday dinner. Always uninvited. Always acting like he belonged. "Your mom said it was okay, or Emily would have wanted me here." My parents, drowning in their own grief, let it slide. "He's harmless," my mom said. "He just misses her." But it didn't feel harmless, not when he started asking questions. Last Christmas, he cornered me in the kitchen. "She was different with me," he said, leaning against the counter. I froze. "What do you mean?" He gave me that thin, creepy smile I'd seen too many times. "She trusted me with things she never told anyone else." "Like what?" His smile widened. "Like how she wasn't afraid to die." That night I went through Emily's old journals. She was the type who wrote everything down: thoughts, doodles, dreams, grocery lists. Most of it was just typical Emily stuff. Quotes, song lyrics, notes about camping trips she wanted to plan. Then I found it. "I think Nathan's following me. He won't stop texting. Keeps saying he knows something I don't. I'm starting to feel like I can't get away from him." I showed my mom. She barely looked at it. "Emily was dramatic sometimes," she said. "Don't read into it." A few days later, I saw Nathan's car parked across the street. I'd seen it before, idling, lights off, but I always brushed it off. This time, I knew. He wasn't watching my parents. He was watching me. Last week, my dad turned 60. We held a small family dinner. Guess who showed up? Nathan walked in with a gift he said Emily would have bought: a coffee table book about hiking trails. I snapped. I waited until he stepped outside for air and followed him. "What the hell are you doing here?" I asked. He didn't flinch. "Paying my respects. Emily broke up with you. She didn't want you in her life. Why can't you just let her go?" His eyes narrowed slightly. "She told you that?" "Yes." He took a small step toward me. His voice dropped to a whisper. "She told me things too. Things she never told you." And then he said it. "I was there, you know, on the trail." My throat tightened. "What?" He smiled again, empty and cold. "She didn't fall." She looked me in the eyes and told me to let her go. I felt sick. "You're lying." He tilted his head like he was analyzing me. "Am I? If she slipped, why didn't she scream?" I called the police that night. Told them everything, the stalking, the journal, what he'd said. They went to his apartment the next morning. It was empty. No furniture, no clothes, no trace he'd ever lived there. It's been a week. I haven't told my parents everything. I don't think they'd believe me. Every night I check the locks, twice, sometimes 3 times. I sleep with my phone in my hand. Last night, I found myself flipping through Emily's journal again. Maybe I thought I missed something. Maybe I was hoping for a clue. But this time, there was something new. The last page, one that had always been blank now, had a message written in jagged, ink-black letters. He's not watching. He's inside. In all my years working with the dead, I've developed a strange kind of numbness to it. The body is just a body, a vessel that once carried life, that's all. I never dwell on who they were or how they lived, but then she showed up on my table, and it shook something in me. I recognized her instantly. Her name was Anna. I'd seen her around the hospital several times, glowing with joy, talking to nurses and staff about her baby and all the dreams she had. She always seemed a bit spacey, a little too enthusiastic sometimes, talking about changes and new beginnings, like something spiritual was coming. But I never imagined I'd see her like this, dead, drowned in her own bathtub. She'd been there for at least 3 days before her neighbor noticed the smell and called the police. There were strange markings on her wrists and on the back of her neck, symbols, not words, no signs of struggle, no signs of forced entry. She had no partner, no family, and no one to claim her. They wanted me to mark it as a suicide, but I didn't believe it. Why would someone kill themselves days before giving birth to the child they talked about with so much love? Still, I was called in around 2 a.m. They told me the body was in bad shape, water damage, decomposition, and I needed to process it quickly so they could close the case and move on. I'll spare you the gruesome stuff, but I'll walk you through enough so you understand why I haven't slept since. First came the documentation, photographs, external observations, the usual, obvious signs of drowning, obvious bloating and skin damage from days in warm water. But around the markings, the skin was different. Not just water bleached, it was tougher, pale and thick, like it had aged unnaturally. I told myself it was my imagination. Then came the internal exam. I hesitated for a long time. I didn't want to go further. Something about the room felt wrong, too quiet, too cold. I forced myself to keep going. The lungs confirmed drowning. But when I reached the rib cage and exposed the bone, I froze. Etched into the surface of the ribs were tiny carvings, repeating symbols, dozens of them, all along the inner curve of her ribs. I blinked hard, rubbed my eyes. It wasn't possible. No one could have made those from the outside, not without opening her up. And certainly not her. Was it bone disease? A parasite? Something chemical? No, I knew what I was looking at. And I knew I wasn't supposed to understand it. I pulled out my phone and took a picture. Not protocol, I know, but I had to have proof. The moment the shutter clicked, something fell in the hallway. A sharp clatter. I looked up. The hallway door was shut. No one else was supposed to be here. My hands were shaking as I pulled my gloves back on and moved lower toward her womb. I didn't want to keep going, but I couldn't stop now. Her belly had been perfectly round. She was supposed to be full term. When I opened the uterus, I recoiled. It was empty, completely. No fetus, no remains. Just the placenta and the umbilical cord, still attached and intact. I backed away. My gloves hit the floor. My thoughts spiraled. Had she delivered before dying? Was the child alive somewhere? No, there would have been sign stretching, tearing, trauma. But there was nothing. Her body was still prepared for birth. It was as if the baby had never existed. Everything said she was pregnant, except for the fact that the baby was simply gone. I closed her up in silence. No more questions. I followed orders. I checked the suicide box. I didn't believe it, but I didn't have the energy to argue. They just wanted it done. As I left, I remembered the sound. That metal clatter in the hallway. I stepped outside the morgue and turned toward the supply closet. I hadn't heard anyone enter or leave. No doors creaked, nothing, but the noise had been real. I walked over slowly, heart pounding. My hand gripped the doorknob. Click. It was locked. From the inside, I knocked gently. "Hello," I whispered. There was no response. Just the soft sound of someone breathing in through their teeth, like a hiss. I looked back. The morgue door was now wide open. I couldn't remember leaving it that way. I told myself I was done. My shift was over. I walked out and didn't look back. I got into my car, started the engine, and drove home without music or thought. At 3:30 a.m., I stepped into my dark, empty apartment. I live alone. No one to greet me. No one to ask how my night went. I showered, brushed my teeth, crawled into bed. But sleep didn't come easy. My head felt heavy and my chest tight. I drifted in and out of feverish dreams, empty hospital halls, water rising, something scratching at my ribs from the inside. At one point, I thought I heard a cry, a soft, distant newborn cry. I jolted awake, breathing hard. It was 6:12 a.m. The sky outside was turning blue. My window had fogged slightly from the morning chill, but what made my stomach drop, what made my mouth go dry, was the faint but unmistakable imprint of a small hand on the inside of the glass. A child's hand. I work for a theater where the performers always die, and I get paid to watch. If you met me on the street and asked me what I do for a living, I'd tell you I work from home doing consulting for a logistics firm. That's the cover story I've been given. It works. Nobody asks questions. The truth? Every Friday night, I put on a suit, go downtown to a certain old theater, take my assigned seat, and watch a performance. That's it. That's my entire job. 2 hours a week, and I make more money than I ever did in my full-time corporate job. Full benefits. No emails, no meetings, no deadlines. Just show up, watch, go home. Sounds perfect, right? Until you find out what kind of performances they are. Before I explain further, I need you to understand something. I'm not a bad person. I donate to wildlife conservation. I volunteer when I can. I'm a good dad. I go to church. I've never hurt anyone in my life. All I do is watch. That's important to remember. It started 3 years ago, during a rough patch. I'd lost my job. My savings were gone. The bills were stacking up, and my daughter needed braces I couldn't afford. That's when the offer came. It was a phone call. The voice on the other end was polite, professional. They said they had a job opening that matched my profile. When I asked what the position was, they told me I'd be attending performances every Friday night at the Veritas Theater. That's all. No critiques, no audience reviews, just be present. You're there to bear witness. It sounded like nonsense. A scam or some weird art project. But they wired me $2,000 just for agreeing to attend once. So I went. I showed up wearing the nicest clothes I owned, felt underdressed the second I arrived. Everyone else was in tuxedos, gowns, perfect hair, jewelry, hundreds of them, all walking silently toward the doors. The staff greeted us in black suits and white masks, those old theater masks, permanently smiling. They didn't speak, only gestured. We handed over our phones, watches, anything electronic. We were searched. Then one of them leaned close to me and said in a smooth voice, "No distractions, no diversions. No lapses in concentration. You are here to witness. Do not look away. Once inside, I was stunned. The theater looked like something out of the 18th century. Red velvet seats, gold trim, oil paintings of people long dead. But what caught my attention most was the stage. It was wrong. The stage looked mechanical, hundreds of piano wires stretched across it, connected to levers, gears, and strange hammer-like contraptions that reminded me of insect legs. A spider's web of taut metal lines, glinting faintly in the dim light. That first night, the performance was a string quartet. 4 college-age musicians, nervous but smiling, walked on stage. One of the masked staff took up the role of conductor. The music started, and for a while, everything felt normal. The music was good, not flawless, but pleasant. I started to relax. But something gnawed at me. Time. There were no windows, no clocks, and we had no phones. It felt like an hour passed. Then 2. No intermission, no breaks. The musicians looked tired, confused. I noticed the violinist wiping sweat from her face, the cellist blinking rapidly. Then someone's string broke. It snapped with a sharp twang and hit the second violinist in the face. She cried out, staggered back, her hand over her eye. The music stopped, and that's when the stage came alive. Without warning, one of the wire systems activated. I heard the whirring of hidden motors. Metal screeched. Then something moved. A single wire shot across the stage like lightning. It passed through the violinist's neck and hand in an instant. Clean, silent. For a split second, she looked fine. Then her hand dropped. Then her head. Then her body followed, all with surgical precision. Gasps echoed across the audience, but nobody screamed. No one moved. Then that mechanical voice returned, booming from every wall, floor, and ceiling. Continue performing. The remaining 3 musicians immediately picked up their instruments again. I couldn't process what I'd just seen. I kept expecting someone to stand up, to say it was a sick joke. Hidden cameras. A horror-themed prank show. But no one moved. We were all just watching. Eventually, another player dropped their bow, trembling. Another wire cracked across the stage, severing 3 fingers. From there, things spiraled. Each time a mistake happened, a wrong note, a slip of the hand, the machine responded. Swift, precise, brutal. The performers began shaking, bleeding, crying, begging. The audience just sat. At one point, a girl stood and screamed, "Help them! Somebody do something!" A masked usher appeared behind her and shot her in the head. I don't think she even saw it coming. Nobody else moved after that. The quartet was reduced to 1, a young man with a cello, drenched in sweat and tears, playing with a jagged shard of bow. His mouth moved as he whispered something to himself over and over. Then the strings tensed again. He didn't even flinch. His final note was a soft, broken hum. Then he was gone too. The moment he died, the entire theater exploded in noise. Applause, roars, whistling, stomping, clapping like a sporting event crowd celebrating a game-winning goal. People cried, hugged, laughed, screamed. A grotesque celebration. The masks clapped too. I stood because everyone else stood. I clapped because my body betrayed me. I smiled even though my soul was crumbling. When I left that night, the street outside was still dark. Just past 10 p.m. Barely 2 hours had passed. I went home. I showered. I threw up. Then I got paid. A direct deposit. Double the promised amount. A note in my email, "Thank you for bearing witness." I swore I'd never return. But when rent came due, and my daughter's school fees came in, and the car broke down again, I did. The next time was a ballet, then a play, then a solo recital. Always new performers, always the same ending. Some begged. Some tried to run. None ever made it far. Now I go every Friday. I sit, I watch, I leave, and I get paid. Every week, I tell myself it's not my fault. I didn't make the rules. I didn't build the stage. I didn't create the wires, or design the masks, or choose the performers. All I do is watch, and besides, isn't that what everyone does? We watch violence every day. We scroll past suffering. We see war, famine, murder, injustice, and we keep eating our dinner, keep watching our shows, keep scrolling. So how is this any different? At least the ones on stage know they're being watched. And maybe that's something. Maybe being witnessed matters. Or maybe I'm just telling myself that so I can keep going back, so I can keep collecting my pay, so I can keep pretending that I'm still a good person. But even if you hate me, and maybe you should, just remember one thing. Someone has to bear witness. If you've ever gone through something similar, or know someone who has, leave a comment below. Sometimes, just telling it is already a way to protect yourself. And if this video made you think twice before letting your guard down, then it was already worth it. Here, we don't tell stories to entertain. We tell them to warn, because real fear doesn't jump scare you. It silences. It freezes. And if you want to keep hearing stories that might help keep you alive, subscribe. The next story could be yours.